Hi everyone, my name is Anna-Marie. A very warm welcome to you all, and I'm so glad you're here. I pray that this message would really bless and encourage you. Do you know, I'm always amazed how the Holy Spirit takes scriptures and highlights them and brings them to life and makes them so relevant in my everyday situation. For that, I'm really grateful, and I pray this would also be the same for you as you listen. In my last video, I spoke about Moses, the man who was chosen, called, equipped, and sent to deliver and lead the Hebrew people out of Egypt. Today, I want to continue to look at Moses' life. I will be speaking from passages out of Exodus chapter 2, Acts chapter 7, and Hebrews chapter 11. As we have not got the time in this video to read all these passages, I would encourage you to go and read them for yourselves. I also alluded to the fact in my last video that Moses somehow knew that he was a Hebrew. When we last heard about him, he was about 3 to 4 years old. It was the time when his mother took him to the palace, and Pharaoh's daughter adopted him, and he also then received an excellent education in all the wisdom of Egypt we read in the Bible, and he became very powerful in words and deed. Now at the age of 40, we see Moses again. He remembers something, or should I maybe say someone, his kinsman. I wonder if he began to have a stirring, if there was some searching going on concerning his people and in connection with them about his own life. We do not read about the reunion with his family of origin, though they would still have all been around, I'm sure, at that time. I wonder what went through his mind. I wonder if there were some painful emotions he was struggling with. Was he trying to make sense of his past? How much of what he had experienced as a toddler did he still remember? Was there sadness, a sense of loss, or just a huge why? Yes, he was privileged. However, that didn't take away from the fact that he may have felt that his parents had abandoned him. The woman he was living with was his adoptive mother. In addition, she came from a very different cultural background to his. People around him were full of hatred towards another people's group, his people's group. They were full of power wielding and control. And maybe at this time, he felt he wanted to somehow identify with the Hebrew people. Whatever happened at that age of 40, he came out of the palace to see, to watch what was going on. I wonder if you can identify with Moses in some ways. I have so often observed that around the age of 40, people begin to remember what has happened in their childhood, and sometimes difficult childhood memories and traumas begin to surface. Sometimes these memories were buried deeply, so deep that they didn't raise their heads for years. But when these memories begin to surface, it can be a very painful time. A time when all kinds of emotions emerge and people feel totally out of their comfort zone. Many struggle, are confused, feel guilty, live in denial, and really somehow they just don't want to visit that past anymore. It is only as they seek help and begin to face up to these deeply painful emotions that they can begin to address the deep wounds and heal. Let's continue to look at Moses. He was watching, he saw how unfairly the Hebrew people were treated by the Egyptians. He saw how an Egyptian hit a Hebrew. At that point, anger rose up in him. So he presumed it was right to take the law into his own hands. We read in James chapter 1, human anger is never a legitimate tool to promote God's righteous purpose. However, anger can be an emotion which surfaces when we grapple with deep pain and grief. It can also be an emotion pointing to a blocked goal. Yes, Moses was brought up as a prince. He lived a very privileged life, had a very powerful position. He was brought up to rule, was taught what it means to have authority. He seemed, maybe even in his own eyes, well equipped for the job to deliver the Hebrew people. All the training he had in the wisdom of Egypt, plus his personality type, plus his giftings, were just the right fit to take matters into his own hands. He certainly didn't seem to have doubt about himself. He comes across rather self-assured. He wanted to avenge the person who was wronged. Although he was taught in all the wisdom of Egypt, he did not yet have the wisdom from above. What does that wisdom look like? Let's read in James chapter 3. But the wisdom from above is always pure, filled with peace, considerate and teachable. It is filled with love and never displays prejudice or hypocrisy in any form. And it always bears the beautiful harvest of righteousness. Good seeds of wisdom's fruit will be planted with peaceful acts by those who cherish making peace. Moses may have been given some excellent tools, be that through his education, or his gifting, or his personality. The wisdom from above would have helped him to know how to use these tools. Many of us may be very well equipped. We may think we understand what is going on, but so often we presume. Sure, we may have been given really good tools, but we lack the wisdom of how to do and use those tools. Take, for example, when we are given a word for someone. How often do we go straight to the person to divulge what we have been given, only to find that maybe we are rebuffed by them? Then we're upset, we point the finger at them. But maybe that word was given to us so that we know how to pray and what to pray for these people, how to be towards them, how to love them towards freedom. Can God entrust you with something? Because He knows you seek Him and you seek His wisdom, which will help you to know how to use what you've been given. Back to Moses. So here he was really angry, and he seemed to have made a decision, presuming he was doing the right thing. He looked this way and that way, presuming no one saw him. And then he struck the Egyptian and killed him. He quickly took the body and hid it in the sand. And off he leisurely walked towards the palace. Somehow I can just hear him think, no, he would not have it that his own people were treated so badly. He would teach these Egyptians a thing or two. How dare they? He definitely had done the right thing, and the good thing was no one had seen it. We may never have killed anybody, and yet we too may have committed murder through our words. We may not even have done it by telling the person directly, but we may have done it by gossip and slander. We may look this way and that way to make sure we are not found out. Like Moses, we may presume that no one was around to see what we have done. Like Moses, we try to cover up and hide. Hiding is something which immediately set in after Adam and Eve had sinned. Whenever we ourselves want to hide or want to hide something, it is time to stop and ask ourselves, why do I want to hide and cover up? It is time to face the truth, and the truth will set us free. The next day Moses came out again. What? Did he see correctly? There were indeed 2 of his people who were fighting with each other. He could not let that happen. He had to address them. Men, you are brothers. Why are you hurting one another? Clearly, he was trying to make peace. He just had to get the situation sorted. By doing that, however, he kept missing the mark. He acted presumptuously. Well, you might say, isn't peacemaking and reconciliation a very noble thing to do? Yes, it is. But in order to do it the right way, he needed the wisdom from above, which would have shown him how to do it well. Remember, Moses was taught in all the wisdom of Egypt, or we could also say in all the wisdom of this world. And we read in 1 Corinthians 3 about the wisdom of the world. For what the world says is wisdom is actually foolishness in God's eyes. As it is written, the cleverness of the know-it-alls becomes the trap that ensnares them. So, what did the man do who was unfairly hurting his neighbor? He pushed Moses aside and he said to him, "Who has made you ruler and judge over us? Do you want to kill me like you killed the Egyptian yesterday? Do you?" Wow. How do you think Moses took this defensive reaction? He had personally come out to see what was going on. He had heard their groans. He understood them. They would surely appreciate him identifying with them. He presumed his own people would understand that God was delivering them through him, but they didn't understand. What a huge disappointment. He felt he was called. He had been risking his life for them. He took action. He did not just watch and shrug his shoulders. He was sure they would welcome a deliverer. And now, this reaction. I can so well identify with Moses. How many times have I tried to rescue people in my own way and my own strength? I clearly remember standing in my kitchen one day, thinking about somebody who definitely needed rescuing by me, and delivering and setting free. Lord, what shall I do? How shall I do it? Please show me. When I distinctly heard him say, "Get out of my way so that I can get through." Wow. That was a big lesson for me to learn. And believe me, one I have never forgotten. Maybe some of you can also identify with Moses. How often do we assume that people will thank us if we come to rescue them? Fact is, we may know deep down that God wants to use us. We may be aware that we are called to bring deliverance, to lead people into freedom. But like Moses, we may have tried to do it our way. We might see the desperate situation in people around us. We might presume that this in itself gives us the legitimacy to act by taking the law into our own hands. So now, having acted hastily, presumptuously, Moses realized that what he did was seen by someone of his own people, and his efforts were not appreciated. This time, the emotion rising up wasn't anger, it was fear. This emotion was understandable because it wasn't long before Pharaoh had heard what he had done, and he wanted to put Moses to death. If we act guided by the world's wisdom, in haste, presumptuously, we will find ourselves in some sticky and sometimes even dangerous situations. This is the moment fear will set in. And it seems the only way out is to run. It does not pay to act presumptuously. This is the second time around Moses' life was in danger. The first time around, a few women saved his life. This time round, he had to run for his life. So Moses went to Midian, and there he became a refugee. This is the place where I want to pick up in the next episode. And I'm really looking forward what we will discover together. If you have been encouraged by this message, please pass the video on to others. Press the like button. Write in the comment section below what has spoken to you personally, because it will also encourage us as we hear what has been speaking to you. Subscribe to my channel. And I want to thank you for watching. God bless you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time.